Hello friends, I am Manish Maharshi, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Government Dunga College, Bikaner. Today in this video, we will discuss the poem One Day I Wrote Her Name by Edmund Spencer. This poem is the part of the syllabus of BA Part First here in Maharaja Ganga Singh University. First, I will read out the poem and then we will discuss what Edmund Spencer wants to say in this poem. Before I read the text of this poem, first I would like to give a very short introduction about the poet Edmund Spencer. Edmund Spencer, born in 1552 and died in 1599, was an English Renaissance poet who is famously known for his epic poem, The Fairy Queen. Following this, he produced a collection of sonnets titled Amority and Epithalamion, which was published in 1595. The 89 sonnets from the Amority collection were written by Spencer to correspond with the scriptural reading given by the Book of Common Prayer. Spencer defies conventional 16th century sonnet form as his amority sequence subvert theme of unrequited relations and spurned love. Instead opts to replace 16th century pessimism with a more optimistic outlook of love and marriage. Spencer's amority is addressed to Elizabeth Boyle, whom Spencer marries later. Thus, his is the Amority a saga of love without sin or remorse, its changing fortune and the sighs of the lover until lies accomplishment and final joy. Now I read out the text of this sonnet. Now, first I will read out the text of this sonnet and then we will discuss the poem. One day I wrote her name upon the strand, but came the waves and washed it away. Again I wrote it with a second hand, but came the tide and made my pains his prey. Vain man, said she, that dust in veins assay, immortal thing so to immortalize, for I myself shall like to this decay, and eke my name be wiped out likewise. Not so, quoth I, let beset things devise to die in dust, but you shall live by fame. My verse, your virtues rare, shall eternalize, and in the heavens write your glorious name. When, where, when, as death shall all the world subdue, our love shall live and let life renew. This poem is in a sonnet form. It is a sonnet. Sonnet, by definition, is a lyric poem which is written in 14 lines and having iambic pentameter and a fixed rhyme scheme. This poem was published in 1595 as part of the large work Amoreti and Epithalamion. This sonnet was numbered 75 in the collection of the sonnets of Amoreti. Amoreti are small love poems, in this case sonnets, and an epithalamion is a wedding song. The work as a whole was written by Spencer to his second wife, Elizabeth Boyle, whom he married in 1594. In Sonnet 75, the speaker is a poetic version of Spencer and the lover to and about whom he is writing is Elizabeth. The subject of Sonnet 75 in this case, in this sonnet, is the immortality of love. In this sonnet, the speaker recounts his effort to immortalize Elizabeth and his love for her. Despite this lover's doubts about his ability to do this, Spencer assures his lover and the reader that though through his poem her name will be remembered, and after their deaths their love will continue in a new life. In this sonnet, Spencer reveals his faith not only in the enduring nature of his love to Elizabeth, but also in his faith in the power of written language and his spiritual confidence in eternal life. In this sonnet, Spencer highlights a traditional question of transience and permanence. The sonnet begins in a perfect romantic setting where the poet lover and his beloved are sitting on the seashore in a amorous mood. In the meantime, the poet writes his beloved's name on the sandy beach. The sea waves comes and washes it away. Once again, the lover writes the name of his beloved, and again waves wash it away. The lady love watches this action of her lover and realizes the merry situation. The lady at last raises the voice of protest by saying that she is an ordinary, fragile, and transitory creature, and neither her name nor her personage claim to go beyond death. Thus she says, vain men said she that dust in vain essay. A mortal thing so to immortalize, for I myself shall like to this decay, and eke my name be wiped out likewise. Spencer, through the lady love, is trying to say that lady love is doubtful and even disdainful. The poet, with firm conviction, declares that his love shall triumph over death and live ever through. Being romantic and idealist, the poet asserts that the gross, insignificant, and baser things might be the part of transient world, but his beloved is a fulsome, a subject of immortality. As the poet says, not so, quote I, let baser things devise, to die in dust, but you shall live by fame. There is no fallacy, no hogwash in the poet's contention. In fact, the poet knows in his heart a device which can go beyond the death, and that device is the poetic device. Death and mortality may claim the physical gross world, but the world of human art has the way to permanence. Thus, the poet wishes to articulate the love to his dear in his poetry of artistic excellence. The poetry, he thinks, will renew their love beyond their physical years. My verse, your virtues rare shall eternalize, and in the heavens writ your glorious name. Where, when as death shall all the world subdue, our love shall live, and latter life renews. Spencer's device of triumph of poetry over the time and by the process, the glorification of love, is a traditional way of thinking. Nonetheless, Spencer is here original for its perfect blend of dramatic mood and indomitable passion of love. Spencer wrote this sonnet in Italian form, as you already know that sonnet are of two types. First is English and the another is Italian. So this sonnet, one day I wrote her name, is an Italian sonnet, but with a big innovation by Spencer as he brought a new rhyme scheme, that is A B A B B C B C C D C D E E. This sonnet carries out a discussion on the problem of time and transient world and the permanence of love and root writing poetry of Magnus Opus. The sonnet is also noted for its dramatic texture, though through the lyrical dramatic are two contradictory terms. Spencer brings about a magnificent harmony between them. Here, Spencer speaks of his own subjective approach regarding writing poetry, but his sonnet is devised through a dramatic situation and a dialogue between him and his beloved. There is abundance of nasal and liquid sounds which produces an impression of softness and musical. There is repetition of words as in the case of name, live, and shall. There is also abundance of alliteration as in waves washed away, pains his prey, wiped out likewise, die in dust, verse your virtues, where and when, etc. All these devices make this poem a delight for the music for the ears as it creates music to the ears of the listeners. So, as we have discussed this sonnet, now if there is any query, you can write me in the comment box. I will try to answer them. Thank you.